Ma is an arrogant demon lord who was defeated by a girl hero and forced into the human world. Now powerless, he decides to live ordinarily and gets a job, but this somehow rises up the same hero girl who now wants to crack him. The story begins in the magical world of Amelia, where humans constantly fight a losing battle against Ma and his demon army. After decades of endless bloodshed, humanity's hero finally rises and storms his castle to end him. There she battles Ma for hours and eventually overpowers him. But just as she's about to finish him, his last surviving general, Alciel, intervenes and advises that they retreat before the hero wipes them out. With no other choice, Ma opens a portal to another world and quickly escapes through it with Alciel. About half a second later, they find themselves in a dark alleyway in modern Tokyo, wounded and completely confused. They walk out to the city, hoping to find a hospital, but the moment the city lights touch them, Ma's GigaChat demon form shrinks into that of an ordinary human. Just then, two patrol officers approach them and start asking questions, thinking they are troublemakers. However, when Alciel starts ranting aggressively in demon language,
What?
the officers assume they're foreigners who got into a fight, so they calmly arrest them and take them to the station for interrogation. As the interrogation's about to begin, Ma hypnotizes the officer with his magic and makes him explain all he needs to know about Earth. Afterwards, he locates Alciel and they bust out of the station. As they continue exploring the station, Ma explains that their magic has become extremely limited because of the absence of mana in Earth's atmosphere, so he advises that they ration their magic and adapt to the rules of the new world, while searching for a way to restore it. To get started, the duo registers as citizens under separate aliases, opens a bank account, and visits a real estate agency to rent an apartment. After explaining their situation, the agent takes them to a Matchbox apartment, where they meet with their landlady, an uglier Ursula lookalike, settle their rent, and move in. Later that night, while they discuss their new goals, Ma suddenly collapses from magic exhaustion and is soon rushed to the hospital. After receiving treatment, he tells Alciel about how weak the human body is and advises they avoid using magic altogether. Once they return home, they both apply for several minimum wage jobs, only to be hired and fired within days.
Stupid!
A few weeks later, Ma finally lands a part-time job as a fry cook at a fast food restaurant and goes above and beyond, not just to please his customers and boss, but because he believes it is the best way to become Earth's supreme ruler. During one of their lunch breaks, a strange low-magnitude earthquake suddenly happens, while Ma and his female colleague, Chiho, chill in the locker room. Once it's over, they head back to work for the lunch rush, but as Ma is about to flip burgers, the fryer breaks, leaving him scared and confused. He activates his magic to try fixing the machine, but before that happens, his boss catches him and invites him to her office to talk. There, Ma fidgets, as he's scared that she'll fire him, but to his surprise, his boss promotes him to become a full-time employee, and he becomes the happiest man ever. On his way home, a red-headed baddie named Amelia suddenly stops him, claiming she's been observing him ever since he started working at the restaurant, and asks why he tried to use his magic to fix the fryer earlier. Initially, Ma is confused because he doesn't know her, but the moment Amelia calls him by his anti-Iceland honorifics, his face lights up in horror as he realizes she is the hero who nearly clapped him. After a brief silence, Amelia angrily asks Ma why an overlord like him is working part-time at a McDonald's knockoff. But Ma, still shocked, responds by asking her why she is even on Earth in the first place. When Amelia says that she followed them through the gate just to ensure that she slaughters him, Ma freaks out and starts begging her to calm down. Amelia ignores him and takes out a cheap knife to finish the mission. However, before that happens, Ma notices the knife and asks why she isn't using her sacred sword. Embarrassed, Amelia tells him to shut up, but Ma, who's apparently smarter than he looks, eventually figures out that Amelia also can't use magic like he and Alciel. He tries explaining the reality of her situation to her, but Amelia ignores him and charges at him, only for them to be caught and arrested. At the station, an overworked policeman questions them to find out what happened. However, once Amelia starts ranting about wanting to murder Ma, he immediately assumes they're dating and lets them off on a warning. On their way home, Amelia decides to let Ma go for now. However, before they part ways, she promises to be back to slay him before he also wreaks havoc on Earth. The following day, Amelia goes to work her call center job, but by evening, she visits a convenience store like anyone else, picks up some food, and spends the night Netflix and chilling with herself. Eventually, she gets frustrated over how mundane her life is, so she stops whatever she's doing and heads over to Ma's home. Getting there, she furiously rings their doorbell and announces her true identity to Ma and Alciel, claiming she's there to deliver their judgment. When Alciel hears this, he freaks out, locks the door, and informs his boss about Amelia. Unfazed, Malwo says he already knows about Amelia because they met the previous night, which surprises Alciel, but they eventually decide to let her in since she is just like them. Inside, Amelia gets very disappointed by the sorry state of their crack house apartment. However, while she trash talks them, their place, and their dinner, Malwo asks if she has any comrades.
Damn!
And Amelia explains that the head priest, who was supposed to follow her through the gate before it closed, was left behind. Upon hearing her sob story, Malwo and Alciel sympathize with her and suggest that she quickly find a way to get back, since she's alone. However, as Amelia is about to object to that, Malwo flares up and starts ranting about how he'll become a full-timer and earn enough money to conquer the earth.
This is Elon Musk.
Just like he did in Isla. Soon after hearing this stupid speech, Amelia gets so disappointed and thrown off that she just postpones her execution and leaves both idiots to keep doing whatever makes them happy. The next evening, while in the changing room, Amelia's work friend, Rika, invites her to hang out, but Amelia politely refuses and leaves the office for Malwo's house to spy on them, hoping to figure out their master plan. Before long, Malwo and Alciel suddenly bust out of their house in a rush to go somewhere, and Amelia quickly follows them. However, the moment she realizes that both dorks were just rushing to get supplies that were on sale at the convenience store, she gets really disappointed and returns home for the day. Over the next few days, Amelia's colleague kept inviting her to hang out, but Amelia would decline and spy on Malwo and Alciel, only to realize that those two dorks are just living normal lives as boys. During another one of her boring stakeouts, another low-magnitude earthquake happens, which Alciel and Malwo notice, but Amelia doesn't see it as a big deal, as she just walks home. A few nights later, she approaches Malwo at his workplace, buys a burger, and rudely demands that he meet with her at the intersection nearby once he's off work. To stay professional, Malwo wears a fake smile and treats her like a valid customer. However, once she's gone, Chiho, who witnessed their interaction, shows up and indirectly asks Malwo to define his relationship with Amelia. When Malwo calls the relationship weird, Chiho suddenly gets jealous and gets pissed at him for no reason, but eventually she lets him off the hook. After her shift, Chiho approaches Malwo to discuss the earthquake from the previous day. As Malwo responds to her, he accidentally mentions that he has a roommate, and this causes Chiho's spidey senses to tingle, as she starts questioning him to know if he's living with that pretty girl. Sensing the danger incoming, Malwo quickly tells her that he's a brokey just like y'all watching, and that he's living with an old buddy of his, and thankfully, this gets her off his back. Later that night, after getting off work, he rides his bike to an intersection to meet Amelia. When he arrives, Amelia admits that she has been stalking him and has noticed that he is living a pretty normal life. That being said, she then offers to stop trying to murder him if he simply lives out the rest of his life like this, but knowing Malwo, he refuses her offer immediately and swears to return to Isla and conquer it. Just then, his bike gets a flat tire, and while Malwo freaks out, a purple magic sniper bullet hits the bike. At first, the duo gets confused, but the moment Malwo senses another sniper bullet coming for them, he leaves his bike behind and runs for dear life with Amelia. After running for a few minutes, they finally stop near a pillar, and Malwo explains to Amelia that the sniper must have been someone from Isla, who has a grudge against them. While Amelia tries to digest all this, Malwo blames her for choosing a terrible place to discuss, and Amelia crashes out. After arguing for several seconds, Malwo eventually leaves her in the middle of the road to get some sleep. Moments later, when he arrives home, he finds Amelia following him and gets really creeped out by her absurd obsession with him. As he politely tries to send her away, Amelia gets embarrassed and begs him to let her stay the night at his place, because she apparently lost her purse while they were running earlier. Feeling sorry for her, Malwo lets her into the house and explains their situation earlier to Alciel, who freaks out upon seeing her. After that, he ushers a very embarrassed Amelia to a corner in their room to sleep at, gives her a blanket to cover herself, and lends her 1,000 yen to take the train back to her house at first light. Later that night, while Amelia is fast asleep, Malwo receives an odd message from Chiho warning him that a high-magnitude earthquake will happen, and gets really confused. The following morning, Amelia sneaks out of their apartment and showers for a whole hour to wash off the filth from Malwo's ugly apartment. Afterwards, she chills out in the living room to watch her show when a news report concerning the shooting suddenly shows up on screen. At first, Amelia just watches it like a normal news report, but the moment she spots Malwo and Alciel in the video, she freaks out and decides to ignore them. Meanwhile, Chiho is at her family's home, staring at her phone and recalling what happened the previous night when she asked Malwo to meet that day to discuss the earthquake message, and he agreed. Around that same time, Amelia is in her office, declining yet another hangout invite from Rika, claiming that she doesn't have time. As she tries explaining her situation, a call request suddenly comes in, and Amelia quickly answers it. After introducing herself, the person on the other end praises her performance and urges her to drop the act. Shocked, Amelia demands that the person reveal their identity, but he tells her, in his heavy voice, that he's someone who knows both her and Ma Wu's true identities and is planning to destroy them. Hearing this, Amelia does her best to remain as calm as possible, but as their conversation continues, the guy's threats get even more dangerous, causing her to freak out. After calming herself, Amelia suspects that this scumbag is a demon like Ma Wu, but then she rethinks the whole thing, realizes it's too far-fetched, and continues trash-talking him until they hang up. Moments later, Amelia meets with Rika for lunch, but as she's about to leave work, she receives a call from the police station asking her to come and sign a guarantor form for Ma Wu and Alciel, and she reluctantly agrees. Soon after signing the form, Amelia meets up with the airheads in the same building and crashes out at them for making her their guarantor. When she finally calms down, she tells Ma Wu about the phone call she received at work earlier and warns him to be very careful not to get himself slaughtered by the mystery man. Then she leaves. Moments later, Chiho returns home and picks out a very nice dress for her date with Ma Wu. Meanwhile, Alciel forcefully takes Ma Wu shopping at a boutique for bougie outfits for his date with Chiho. While they check out some coats, Ma Wu gets bored and asks why they're playing dress-up for a mere meetup, but Alciel angrily tells his logic-resistant brain that it's because his meeting with Chiho is an actual date, not just some random meet and greet. About an hour later, Chiho meets up with Ma Wu, looking like the next best thing after sliced bread, and engages him in some small talk. After throwing each other a few compliments here and there, the duo hold hands like a real couple and walk down to a cafe in the subway to chill out. While they settle in, Amelia arrives at the area and spots Alciel spying on the cafe up front. She quietly sneaks up behind him and scares the life out of him, then asks why he's acting very suspicious. At first, Alciel tries to shoo her away, but Amelia, who refuses to leave, ignores him and observes the cafe until she spots Ma Wu and Chiho chilling and discussing in the same seat. At this, she gets super pissed, grabs Alciel's shirt, and demands to know Ma Wu's plans for that poor girl. Left with no other choice, Alciel tells her everything about Chiho and his boss's relationship, not forgetting to mention how much Chiho loves him. Satisfied with his explanation, Amelia lets him off the hook and continues spying on both lovebirds from their corner. Judging by Chiho's snatchy outfit, Amelia can tell that she's looking to get her cherries popped by Ma Wu himself. However, when Amelia spots the size of Chiho's Double D milk jugs, she becomes very embarrassed since she's flat-chested and starts ranting absolute nonsense. Soon after, she calms herself and drags Alciel inside the cafe to ensure Ma Wu isn't misleading Chiho. Meanwhile, Ma Wu urges Chiho to give him the details about the earthquake she promised to discuss, and Chiho starts by reminding him of the incessant noise she has complained about since she started working at their restaurant. Well, it turns out that last night, while doing her homework, her phone intercepted a secret magical transmission from Ma Wu and Amelia's world, warning anyone who's listening about the terrifying earthquake that's coming for them, and promising to show up once it's time. Hearing this, Ma Wu immediately recognizes that communication pattern as the one used to synchronize the minds of humans in different worlds to share ideas and concepts. However, as he continues thinking about the next big earthquake coming, he suddenly spots Amelia and Alciel walking into the cafe and spits out his coffee in shock. Seeing this, Chiho checks on him to ensure he's not choking, but to avoid spooking her, Ma Wu quickly clears his throat and responds to her concerns, knowing well that Amelia is watching him. Soon after that discussion ends, Chiho's face turns bright red as she struggles to confess her feelings to Ma Wu. Sadly, before she can even get the words out, Amelia interrupts them and tells her never to get involved with a cunning scumbag like Ma Wu, claiming he is never up to any good. However, instead of blindly believing her, Chiho recognizes her as the woman who was harassing Ma Wu at work the other day, so she stands up to her and calls her out as a toxic ex who just cannot move on. Unable to take the insults, Amelia also retaliates, and before they know it, they both cause a scene. As Ma Wu tries to calm them, a high-magnitude earthquake suddenly hits the subway, and within seconds, the entire place collapses. Following the earthquake, Amelia and Chiho find themselves trapped under the debris. While they wait for help to arrive, Chiho asks Amelia if she can find Ma Wu, but Amelia assures her that he's not dead yet. That being said, the duo introduces each other appropriately, and Amelia politely asks Chiho why she loves Ma Wu so much. Initially, Chiho freaks out, trying to deny that fact, but eventually, she caves in and asks Amelia why she's so close with Ma Wu, whom she claims to hate so much. At this, Amelia tells her she has no choice, then she warns her one more time not to get too close to Ma Wu, and puts her to sleep. Afterwards, she tells Ma Wu, who's apparently nearby, that it's safe to show himself. However, to her surprise, Ma Wu shows up looking like a demonic centaur on steroids and starts complaining about his sudden change in appearance. When Amelia sees this, she gets really scared and considers killing him with the little power she has left. But when Mawo starts talking about rescuing the other survivors, she is shocked, because he's normally not supposed to be the good guy. Nonetheless, Mawo gets all the survivors to safety and coordinates with emergency services to treat the wounded. Meanwhile, Amelia stands in the middle of the street, spacing out, as she recalls a loving memory from her younger years in Isla. Back then, life was more bearable, as Amelia recalls helping her dad in the fields one fateful day and bringing him a simple, well-balanced lunch to keep him going, even as the war against Mawo raged on. Unfortunately, when they return home from work, the head priest of the church, Alba, and his cardinals show up, expecting Amelia's father to hand her over to them. At first, poor Amelia didn't understand what was going on, so she asked her father for clarity. While on his knees, her dad explains that Alba's coming to take her because she is the daughter of an angel and is the only human in their world, equipped with the strength to defeat Mawo. Confused, Amelia asks how that's possible, seeing as he's a human, but rather than wasting more time explaining, her father hugs her tightly and, with tears on his face, bids her farewell. Unfortunately, a few days after Amelia was taken by the priests, one of Mawo's generals, Lucifer, attacked their village and destroyed everything breathing. After learning about the incident, Alba and the head priest urged her to stay strong and continue training to wield the sacred sword, better half, to avenge her father. Since her heart's already torn to pieces by her father's death, poor Amelia willingly allows herself to be used as humanity's last resort. At that point, Amelia snaps out of her memories as Mawo approaches to check on her. Just as they start arguing again, Chiho shows up, scared and worried, and Mawo comforts her. Just seconds after, a police officer turns in their direction and recognizes Chiho as the daughter of Inspector Sasaki, one of the officers who arrested Mawo and Alciel on the first day they arrived on Earth. As the officer walks away to call Chiho's dad, Mawo recognizes the man and thinks of a way to escape. Luckily for him, Chiho politely asks him to leave because she does not want her dad to find out she nearly died while on a date. Happy to hear this, quickly leaves with Amelia following him. After getting a private place to discuss, Mawo tells Amelia that the earthquake earlier wasn't a natural disaster, but an attack on them, because it happened where both of them were. This confuses Amelia a bit, but Mawo assures her that he's right and that the enemy has exposed them. At this point, Amelia pesters Mawo with incessant questions, but before he can answer, Rika calls Amelia from behind the crime scene line, and Amelia eventually walks over to her. Not long after, Mawo's house husband, Alciel, shows up, devastated by his uselessness earlier and begging that he be punished. Mawo tries to calm him at first, but Alciel continues to cry and act like a fool. Soon after, Amelia follows Rika to her house to stay the night there. After watching her buddy munch down a full dinner, Rika receives a call from her mom in the countryside, who wants to check up on her, but assures her that she's doing totally fine. After the call, she returns to Amelia, who teases her about her dialect, hugs her, and thanks her for being such a good friend. Amelia gets a little confused by the sudden emotional switch, but when she asks Rika about it, Rika goes on a long, emotional rant about her childhood trauma, as well as how one situation can turn one into an angel or a demon, and this deeply resonates with Amelia. Following Rika's rant, Amelia hits the shower to clean up, while Rika turns on the news and finds out about the odd increase in local street crimes, like mugging and armed robbery, happening around town. As she continues watching, Amelia sits in the bathtub, struggling to figure out why she feels so warm and fuzzy inside whenever she thinks about Mawo wanting to save people back there. Well, since she clearly can't understand human feelings yet, she snaps out of it and retires to bed. The following morning, she visits Mawo's apartment, returns the 1,000 yen she borrowed from him, and argues with him yet again. After that, she turns to leave for work, but unfortunately, as she climbs down Mawo's stairs in heels, she stumbles and falls. The loud thud immediately wakes Alciel up, who thinks they're being attacked. However, when he realizes it was all Amelia, he gets disappointed and rides Mawo's bike to the store to buy some antibiotics to treat her. While he's gone, Mawo tries to disinfect her wounds, but Amelia refuses to let him touch her and instead collects the band-aid from him. However, as she tries cleaning herself up, the pain from her wounds causes her to flare up and lose her cool. With Mawo remaining silent, she crashes out, asking him why he, the almighty demon overlord, is going around acting like a normal human being on Earth when he was busy wreaking havoc, pain, and suffering in Isla not long ago. When Mawo's laggy brain fails to understand what she's talking about, Amelia then asks why he's being so nice to her and other humans here, when he was heartless enough to murder her father back then. As Mawo's about to respond, she interrupts him and reminds him of all the terrible things he did to the humans of Isla, and with tears in her eyes, swears never to forgive him because he was the one who took away her peaceful life. Upon hearing all this, Malwo gets remorseful and apologizes for everything he did, claiming it was because he didn't understand humans back then. But just as Amelia is about to crash out even more, Alciel returns from the store with Chiho with him. Upon seeing them together, Chiho gets the wrong impression, so she apologizes for intruding and runs away with a broken heart. Right after, their fat and ugly landlady, McKitty, shows up to drop her 2 cents on the current situation and give them a renovation notice for their apartment. Afterwards, another low-magnitude earthquake happens, and McKitty suddenly starts telling them about stuff only people from Ente Isla should know, leaving them speechless. After she's done talking, another earthquake happens, but in the meantime, 2 of Amelia's friends from Ente Isla are flying through a portal to get to Earth and help her. Meanwhile, Chiho walks the streets, crying, when she suddenly runs into Lucifer, who stops and promises to turn her despair and resentment towards Malwo and Amelia into magic. Once he's done yapping, he exposes his wings, causes an explosion around that bridge, and challenges Malwo, Amelia, and Alciel, who are nearby, to come there and fight him. Upon getting there, Amelia recognizes Lucifer right away and demands to know how he's still alive, as she's sure that she pierced his heart right through with her sword. As Lucifer's about to respond, Malwo immediately senses his accomplice, Olba, hiding nearby, so he urges him to show himself to them already. Once Olba shows himself, Malwo explains that he already knew that he had a hand in this ever since Amelia told him that they entered the gate together. Hearing this, Olba realizes there's no reason to hide anymore, so he removes his disguise and says hi to Amelia, who immediately breaks down, crying as she asks why he's on Lucifer's side. As Olba is about to explain, Malwo tells Amelia that it's definitely because the old head grew jealous of her exploits after she destroyed his army, and connived with Lucifer to eliminate her and him, so they could both seize all the glory for themselves. Shocked, Olba asks how he figured all that out, but Malwo shuts him up and rage baits him even further. As the tension grows, Lucifer gets fed up with all the talking, so he shoots Alciel in the chest with his magic sniper bullet and unleashes a wide-area sniper bullet spell, which attacks both Malwo and everyone around them. Within seconds, the entire city is thrown into pandemonium, but Malwo manages to block some of the sniper shots coming at them and runs away with Amelia and Alciel. On their way to safety, Amelia asks Malwo if he knows how Lucifer is able to use magic on Earth, and Malwo tells her that Lucifer is absorbing magic from the negative emotions of humans, which explains why there's been so much petty crime in the neighborhood recently. Around that same time, Lucifer corners them up front and teases Malwo for actually having the intelligence to think that far. To counter his insult, Malwo tells him that he figured it all out after the earthquake, when the despair of the crushed humans flowed into his body and temporarily allowed him to regain his demonic form. Confused, Lucifer asks Malwo why he didn't try to gain more magic and return to Ente Isla, but Malwo tells him it's because he actually likes Earth now. At this, Lucifer realizes that the once proud Malwo has grown soft, which makes him easy to beat. So rather than continuing all that yapping, he summons Chiho's body from the nether, wrings out all the magic he can from her fear, and attacks Malwo and Amelia. Sensing the danger, Malwo and Amelia try to outrun him. But before they get far enough, one of Lucifer's sniper bullets bores a hole in Malwo's left shoulder, injuring him. Hearing this, Malwo does his best to ignore the pain and continues running nonetheless, but unfortunately, just seconds after, Alba shoots his leg with a 9mm and completely immobilizes him. Following that, he and Lucifer trap them in an ambush. However, as they're about to finish them off, Malwo grabs Amelia's hand and teleports them to the other side of town, with countless people present. Less than a second later, Lucifer finds them, shoots a hole in Malwo's chest, and leaves him for dead. Afterwards, he drops Chiho down to the pavement, but before she splats on the ground, Amelia sacrifices her knee joints and catches her. As if that wasn't enough, Lucifer takes things further by flying even higher than before and unleashing a magic attack so grand that it destroys every infrastructure within a mile radius, including the bridge on top of Amelia and Chiho. Luckily for them, as they're about to be crushed in the rubble, Malwo absorbs some magic from the chaos and despair, regains his demon form, and suspends all the falling rubble with his telekinesis. After that, he aura farms for a few seconds, causing Chiho and Amelia to get a little wet down there, and then he hurries Amelia to quickly help him stop Lucifer before he runs out of juice. At first, Amelia refuses, but when he begs her to help him out, she eventually gets up, wraps Chico in a ball of defense mana, and summons half of her magical gear, powers, and sword. As the battle is about to begin, Malwo encases the whole city in a magical barrier that puts everyone else, aside from Chiho, to sleep. Then he urges Amelia that it's safe to go all out now. after Lucifer's first failed attempt to take her down. Amelia takes the battle to the skies and clashes swords with him for a few seconds. At one point in their battle, Lucifer overpowers Amelia and starts gloating. But before long, Alciel shows up in his former demonic form and joins forces with Amelia. Seeing this, Lucifer realizes he's severely outnumbered, so he calls Olba to join the fight, regardless of the side effects, and together, all four of them deliver an Oscar-worthy battle of the skies. While Amelia's busy chasing Lucifer around, Alciel slams Olba into a building, and Mawo, finally at his limit, carefully places all the rubble down, so he can smack some sense into Lucifer's head. After subduing Olba, Mawo appears right in front of Lucifer, sending chilling shivers down his spine, puts all the power he has left into his fist, and beats Lucifer black and blue. In the aftermath, he reverts to his human form and tells Chiho about his, Alciel's, and Amelia's true identities. At first, Chiho gets a little confused. However, once they're able to prove that they're really angels and demons from another world, she chuckles and listens to Amelia and Mawo bicker like estranged siblings. Soon after, Amelia asks Mawo if he plans on returning to Isla, especially now that he has some of his powers back. But to her surprise, Mawo says he's staying on Earth to work at McDonald's. Confused, Alciel asks Mawo why he's choosing Earth over Isla. But while he responds, Amelia confirms that Lucifer was the creep who called her the other day, and asks how he got her contact. In response, Lucifer returns the purse she dropped the other night, and Mawo and Alciel condemn him as a lowlife for checking a woman's purse. Just then, Amelia's friends from Isla, Emerada and Albert, suddenly pop out of a portal and reunite with her. When they spot Mawo standing dangerously close to her, they get a little suspicious and pull Amelia aside to discuss their findings with her. After a quick stroll, Amelia takes them to Mawu's overlord and lodges them there, while Mawu magically turns back time to restore the city's infrastructure to the way it once was before the attack. The following day, Albert and Emerada open another portal to return to Isla. However, before they leave, they discuss the length Mawu went through to return the city to its normal state, and wonder if the guy's really the overlord they all knew and feared. A few days later, a mage presents herself before the Council of the High Priests back in Isla, and tells them that Amelia and Mawu are currently alive and living on Earth. Hearing this, one of the priests gets confused and reminds the soldier what Olba told them about Amelia disappearing with her sacred sword, but the mage assures them that the old head was lying through his teeth. That said, she connects Emerada and Albert's recent disappearance to Olba, then moves on to inform them that although Emerada is back in Isla, she's currently planning to expose Amelia's current status, as well as Olba's defection to the other world. Upon hearing this, the meeting's host nearly has a second heart attack, because he and the other priests know that if they allow Emerada, a royal magician, to announce that Amelia's alive, then it'll make them, who already proclaimed her dead, look like incompetent liars. Knowing this, the soldier asks what they plan to do with this information, but the priests remain speechless. Back on Earth, Mawu and Alciel return to their apartment, where Lucifer now lives, and give him some takeout to eat while he surfs the net on his computer. Since Lucifer is a spoiled brat, he gets picky about his food, but Alciel, who doesn't care about his feelings, tells him to eat whatever they give and focus on gathering up all the information about Earth's magic for Mawu. At this, Lucifer collects the food, but right after, Mawu sits beside him and starts doubting his ability to hack on his computer. To prove him wrong, Lucifer prank calls Amelia at her workplace, and Mawu rage baits by telling her a bunch of jargon, then he hangs up. The following evening, Amelia visits Mawu while he's at work and angrily demands that they discuss an important matter somewhere private. While they're at it, Alciel, who's returning home from doing some magic research at the public library, finds an envelope from McKitty in their mail and picks it up. Around that same time, Amelia demands that Mawu explain why they prank called her at her office the previous day, and Mawu tells her it was all Lucifer's doing. Hearing this, she gets confused and asks him how he's even able to do that, but Mawu tells her that Lucifer now lives with them. With that being said, the duo continues bickering like two lovers who miss each other, until Mawu eventually gets tired of her annoying self and heads home. There, he spots Alciel and Lucifer looking sick and disgusted, and quickly rushes to check on them. Later that night, after Lucifer and Alciel recover, Mawu asks why they were acting all sick earlier, and Alciel says it's because they opened McKitty's mail earlier and saw her bikini picture. Hearing this, Mawu calls them spineless cowards for freaking out over something that's stupid, but when Lucifer urges him to take a look at the picture for himself, he sneaks a peek and immediately starts asking Lucifer if he's discovered anything from his research so far. In response, Lucifer pulls up his laptop and shows them one of the magical hot spots he found very close to them, a place popularly known as the Forbidden Classroom. Explaining further, he tells them that the classroom is one of the school's defunct buildings, and that students claim to have heard whispering, laughter, and footsteps there at night, meaning a demon is likely involved. The following morning, Ma Wo and Alciel visit the school Lucifer was yapping about, only to realize that it's Chiho's school. Later that day, while they prepare for work, Ma Wo asks Chiho about the forbidden classroom and its infamous 7 mysteries, and she tells him all the creepy stuff Lucifer told them earlier. By nightfall, Ma Wo, Alciel, and Chiho all sneak into the school's abandoned building to investigate the forbidden room. On the way there, Alciel asks why the classroom is forbidden, and Chiho tells him that it's because a student disappeared from that room without a trace. Upon hearing this, Ma Wo asks Chiho what the other classroom mysteries are like, and she tells him 6 of the 7. After hearing all of them, they ask about the 7th mystery, and Chiho says nobody knows because it's believed that whoever finds out the 7th one will get a phone call from the underworld and get their soul taken away. At first, Ma Wo pretends not to be freaked out by this, but the moment he gets a call from Lucifer, he screams like a little girl and scolds Lucifer for scaring him. Soon after, Lucifer says he just found out that the forbidden classroom is a place where a gate was opened in the past, which might have sucked in that student. He then adds that Ma Wo can replenish his power if he finds it and urges him to inform him once he gets there. After the call, the trio hears someone's footsteps approaching from the dark corridor, so they stay alert and get ready to fight. Not long after, Amelia appears from the darkness and demands that they explain what they're doing at the school. As Ma Wo and the others explain to her, Chiho gives her some flip-flops to wear, and Amelia, who's none the wiser, takes her eyes off them to wear them. Once she's done, she raises her head to look at them, only to realize that they're long gone. Pissed, she tracks them down to a biology lab, where they're hiding, and nonchalantly destroys an anatomy mannequin with her sacred sword. Seeing this, Ma Wo, Alciel, and Chiho immediately pop out of their hiding place and condemn Amelia for trashing something so precious and expensive. However, as Amelia blames them for making her do it, the Ente Islan soldier from earlier is seen nearby, spying on them. Soon after, they locate the forbidden classroom on the 3rd floor of another building, and find out that the door was opened very recently. As they continue exploring the place for any forbidden items, they find wrappers for snacks scattered everywhere and a game console on the floor. However, as they're about to check it out, Lucifer suddenly calls Ma Wo and asks if they found a game console. After Ma Wo affirms that they did, Lucifer urges them to bring the console back with them, and Ma Wo immediately figures out what's happening. Furious, he asks Lucifer if this is the place where he and Olba landed on their way to Earth, and when Lucifer affirms that it is, Ma Wo finally realizes that this piece of trash actually sent them on a wild goose chase to pick up his console for him. Disappointed, they walk out of the classroom and return home. The following day at work, Ma Wo accidentally spots McKitty's bikini picture in the locker room and faints from the sheer horror of seeing her cholesterol-infested milk jugs. Later that night, when he returns home from work, their new neighbor, Suzuno, falls off their craggy stairs. But luckily for her, Ma Wo catches her before she hits her head. The next day, Suzuno visits Ma Wo's apartment with a box of pre-packaged udon noodles to apologize for last night and thank Ma Wo for catching her when she fell. Considering how polite she is, Ma Wo speaks to her like a normal human being, but when he collects the heavy noodle box from her, it throws him to the ground. While he struggles to lift it back up, Alciel shows up and discusses a few more things about McKitty and their apartment with Suzuno, but before long, she spots Lucifer chilling inside their room, gets acquainted with him, and then leaves. Meanwhile, Amelia hops on an interworld phone call with Emerata, after receiving a package from her, to ask about it. When Emerata explains that the box contains sacred powers, Amelia gets even more curious and tears the box open, only to see dozens of bottles of holy vitamin B inside. Confused, she asks Emerata if drinking its contents will replenish her sacred powers, and Emerata affirms that she's correct, but warns that she should be careful not to take more than 2 bottles per day. With that being said, Amelia hangs up, freshens up, and goes to Ma Wo's house to spy on him, just like she does every other day. However, this time, she stands in the sun for several hours, gulping down multiple bottles of water and complaining about her unnecessary task. At one point, she considers giving up, but then she hears a female voice scolding and teaching Lucifer how to do household chores properly, and quickly sneaks to their front door to find out if the female, in this case, Suzuno, is also a demon sent to support them. As she listens in on their conversation, she finds out that Alciel is also inside with them, but he sounds sick and tired. At some point, Suzuno decides to walk to her apartment to get some ginger, but to avoid being seen by her, Amelia rushes straight for the stairs and inevitably falls yet again. Only this time, Ma Wo somehow manages to be there and catch her in his arms. Embarrassed, Amelia knocks him out cold with her fists, and soon gets invited to their apartment for breakfast. There, she apologizes for being such a klutz, makes Lucifer get back all her stuff, and finds out that Alciel actually has heat stroke. This surprises her because he's a demon, but soon enough, they move past that, and Suzuno formally introduces herself to Amelia as an old-fashioned Japanese girlie. After the niceties, Amelia and Mawo get into yet another hour-long argument about his new role as the ship's supervisor at the McDonalds he works at. Realizing how casual they are with each other, Suzuno asks Amelia if she's dated Mawo before, but Amelia gets disgusted by the thought of that and assures her that she'll never even dream of doing something that awful. That said, Amelia suspects that maybe Suzuno's also like Chiho, who has feelings for Mawo, so she whispers in her ear, asking if she's also after Mawo. Hearing this, Suzuno immediately drags Amelia out of the room and scolds her for saying something like that out loud. However, before responding, Amelia analyzes Suzuno's composure, and upon concluding that she cannot be a demon, warns her not to get too close to Mawo and gives her her business card to call for assistance anytime. Following that, she walks back into the house, threatens to chop Mawo's head off if he tries anything remotely wrong to Suzuno. Then she picks up her bag and leaves. A few moments later, as Mawo gets ready for work, Suzuno prepares a premium, double-layered bento box and gives it to him to enjoy when he's on lunch break. Later that evening, Amelia hops on another call with Emerita, while on her way to spy on Mawo at his workplace again to discuss matters arising. After some small talk, Emerita asks about Mawo, and Amelia responds, as she arrives at McDonalds to spy, that nothing's changed between them, aside from the fact that they now argue more often than not. Upon hearing this, Emerita accuses Amelia of slowly falling in love with the devil himself, but Amelia swears that it'll never happen. Having said all that, Amelia asks about the state of things over at Ente, and Emerita tells her about the church's attempt to investigate her and Olba's disappearance, while also warning that she should stay vigilant. Later that evening, Mawo's manager, Kasaki, meets with him and informs him that their competition, Kentucky Fried Chicken, is opening a new outlet right across their street the next day. Since she'll be away in the afternoon, she promotes Mawo to be the manager in her stead and warns that he call her in the case of an emergency, which Mawo agrees to. After his meeting, Mawo meets Chiho in their shared locker room and whips out the premium bento Suzuno made him. However, as he's about to dig in, Chiho notices the design on the box, realizes it's way too classy for it to be made by just anybody, and starts asking intrusive questions to know who prepared it. The moment Mawo openly admits that the girl next door made the bento for him, she flares up, grabs Mawo's shirt, and starts shaking him as she freaks out. Soon after, she demands that Mawo let her look at what's inside, and Mawo opens the first layer. Upon realizing that it's just normal food, she urges him to open the second layer, which he does. Once she spots the heart-shaped cake dessert there, Chiho loses her mind and screams out like an old witch. By nightfall, Amelia visits her local convenience store to get some takeout for dinner. But as she's about to leave, a mugger wearing a mask suddenly lunges at her. After dodging the attack, Amelia summons her sacred sword, chases the mugger out of the store, informs the storekeeper to call the cops, and then takes the fight to the streets. Afterwards, the mugger whips out his scythe and attacks Amelia, but she dodges easily and keeps fighting him until the mysterious dude shoots a purple laser from his eyes that nullifies Amelia's sacred powers. Following this, he attacks her a few more times and somehow manages to overpower her. However, as he's about to finish her, the storekeeper hurls paintballs at him and chases him away. After the incident, the storekeeper makes Amelia wait to talk to the cops, but while she's at it, she realizes that Emerita's drug worked perfectly, and that the mysterious dude, who can apparently nullify her powers, is from Ente. Just then, the storekeeper returns her bag, and she receives a distress call from Chiho, who happens to be shaky and scared. Confused, she urges Chiho to tell her what's wrong, but once she learns that she was freaking out because of Mawo's bento box gift, she gets disappointed that she was worried about something that's stupid. The next day, Chiho takes Amelia to Mawo's house to confront this new girl trying to steal her man. At the entrance door, Amelia gets tired of the drama and advises that Chiho just confessed to Mawo, but she just ignores and rings the doorbell. Within seconds, Suzuno opens the door for them, and Chiho immediately starts tweaking like a crackhead, leaving Amelia really scared. Moments later, Chiho regains her senses and joins Suzuno in the kitchen to help out after finding out that she's just cooking for them while Alciel heals from his heat stroke. Once breakfast's done and ready, they all dig in, but while they eat, Suzuno tells them she needs a very average and mundane job, and Mawo stupidly offers her a job at his workplace. This offhanded statement shocks everyone at the table, because they all know that Suzuno working at McDonald's will only cause more friction between her and Chiho. Unfortunately, Malwo's logic-resistant brain is far too immature to understand that, so he doubles down by urging Chiho to train her, but thankfully, Amelia quickly intervenes and discourages Suzuno from accepting his offer. Moving on, they all talk about Suzuno's weird choice of clothes and ask if she has any Western-style clothes. When Suzuno tells them that she only has Japanese-style clothes in her closet, they get so shocked by this that Amelia promises to help her shop for Western clothes after work. Later that day, when she gets off work, Amelia meets up with Suzuno, who's still wearing a kimono, at her apartment and begins their shopping run. Meanwhile, Malwo walks Chiho back home after she spent the whole day cooking for them and asks if her parents are fine with her coming over to cook at a guy's house. After assuring him that they're fine with her being there, Chiho moves on to ask if she can bring them some home-cooked meals later during the day, seeing as Suzuno's going to be out all day, and Malwo happily agrees. Hearing this, Chiho gets really happy, promising to make the best meal for them. However, while she frolics all over the place, Malwo asks if she's ever been worried about the fact that they're all angels and demons from another world, and although Chiho assures him that she's a little worried, especially after hearing all the things he did in the other world, her love for him supersedes all. Hearing this, Malwo becomes really flustered, as her confession hits him quite hard. But after Chiho doubles down, telling him that her deep love for him will never change no matter how he sees her, he calms down and promises to treat her well. Just then, Suzuno interrupts them from the street behind them and admits that she overheard everything Chiho said to Malwo. When Chiho hears this, she cringes from embarrassment, grabs Malwo's bike out of sheer reflex, and rides it out of there to recover from the generational aura loss. Shortly after, Suzuno approaches Malwo and asks him how it feels to have someone love him, but Malwo tells her that it makes him want to protect Chiho's feelings even more. For some reason, Suzuno is shocked when she hears this, but when Malwo notices and asks her about it, she tells him it's nothing and just leaves to meet Amelia at the train station. There, she asks Amelia a few questions about riding a train, claiming she's never ridden one before, and this gets Amelia a little confused. She asks Suzuno how she came into their town if she didn't take the train, and Suzuno says she used the gate and came directly from Isla. Shocked, Amelia flares up and asks Suzuno why she didn't say anything earlier, but Suzuno claims that she already did back when Amelia asked her about her intentions for Malwo. After recounting their conversation on the day she gave her the business card, Amelia freaks out even more and continues arguing with Suzuno until they cause a scene. After several back and forths, Amelia asks why Suzuno thought she and Malwo were in a close relationship, and Suzuno tells her it's because she received information that she was teaming up with him. At this, Amelia continues the argument yet again, until she calms down and urges Suzuno to reveal her true identity. Using their Ente Island dialect, Suzuno introduces herself as the chief interrogator for the church's investigation commission, and states that she's there to help Amelia slaughter Malwo. However, before she can finish, Amelia realizes she's late for work, so she buys herself and Suzuno a ticket and takes her around town. Moments later, they chill out at a cafe shop to take a break and engage each other in some small talk. Afterwards, Amelia asks Suzuno why she moved in next door to Malwo's apartment, and she says it's because she just wanted to keep an eye on him. Satisfied with her response, Amelia then asks Suzuno what she wants from her, and Suzuno says she wants to help her murder Malwo and return to Isla so she can talk the church out of trying to cover up Olba's defection. When Amelia tells her she's not interested, Suzuno flares up and asks her why she doesn't want to fulfill her duty. In response, Amelia tells her everything Olba did to the country when he first came here, including teaming up with Lucifer, and adds that she just can't trust someone who works in the same organization as him. More importantly, she claims that destroying Malwo is her duty alone and urges her to stay out of it. Hearing this, Suzuno tries to convince her, but Amelia shushes and warns her not to try any petty tricks against Malwo, or else he'll notice and slaughter her. That said, she gives Suzuno a few magazines she can read to learn more about the way of Earth, and then leaves for work. Meanwhile, Malwo and Kisaki stand in their empty restaurant, feeling awkward and uneasy since it appears that Kentucky Fried Chicken stole their customers from them. After a brief silence, Kisaki crashes out over their current situation and tells Malwo to use any means necessary to ensure that he defeats Kentucky, then leaves. Moments later, a blue-haired wannabe playboy, Saru, walks into Malwo's workplace, claiming to be the manager of Kentucky, and suddenly starts glazing his D, calling him a sensible and humane person. However, as he continues yapping, he spots Chiho nearby, awakens his inner simp and disgustingly asks her to make him a sandwich. After that, Chiho and Mawo chill out in their locker room while they wait for their spy, Alciel, to return from his undercover mission at Kentucky to learn their secrets. Later that evening, Suzuno meets up with Amelia and Rika at their workplace's entrance and showcases all the Japanese clothes she managed to buy after pawning her valuables. After that, she urges Amelia to take her to Mawo's workplace to watch him. Although Amelia refuses at first, when Rika hears about this, she assumes that Mawo and Amelia are about to have a lover's quarrel and convinces them to go. Moments later, they arrive at Mawo's restaurant, only to find that the place is devoid of customers, even though the local Sasahata Tanabata festival starts that day. Seeing this, Rika knows that a lover's quarrel in that environment is sure to get ugly. So to avoid that, she advises that they all visit the Kentucky Fried Chicken restaurant opposite them first to have a strategy meeting. There, they wait in line to order their food, and Rika urges Amelia and Suzuno to tell her everything there is to know about Mawo, hoping she can use whatever information she learns to resolve the fight. After a brief silence, the line moves up, and Rika orders their drinks from Sarui, the creepy manager, who gives her a very irritating ick. After getting their orders, she returns to her girlfriends, locates a table upstairs, and settles down with Amelia and Suzuno. After some small talk, she urges Suzuno to talk first, and Suzuno tells her that Mawo's just her very good neighbor. Once it's Amelia's turn to speak, she nonchalantly tells Rika that Mawo is someone she wants to murder as soon as possible. But rather than taking her seriously, she figures Amelia's just super pissed at Mawo. Amelia then tries one more time to make her friend understand that there's absolutely nothing going on between her and Mawo. But when Rika still refuses to believe her, she flares up and rains loud and heavy curses at the poor fool. Not long after, Alciel, who's nearby, gets fed up with the insults, so he screams his guts out to get Amelia to stop, and walks over to her table to give her a good scolding. Meanwhile, Mawo and Chiho are still in McDonalds, bleeding customers over to Kentucky across the street. Since they're running out of time, Mawo panics and considers standing outside to attract customers. However, since he knows it's probably best to wait until Alciel returns, poor bro is left in between a rock and a hard place. At one point, the other workers notice their new shift supervisor panicking and advise that he take things easy. Hearing this, Mawo remembers that he's actually in charge here. So he calms down, orders them all to go wash the windows, and continues waiting for Alciel to show up. In the meantime, Amelia asks Alciel, who's now at her table, why he's even at the restaurant. But Alciel deflects the question and chastises her for slandering his lord, Mawo. Moving forward, Amelia asks Alciel to explain the state of things between her and Mawo to Rika, so she can stop misunderstanding them all the time, and promises to treat him to whatever he wants after. At first, Alciel gets a little hesitant to help her, but when he hears the last part, he immediately takes his seat to spit out the fakest story he can think of. To begin the story, Alciel first introduces himself to Rika as Mawo's house husband. Then, he moves on to cook up an hour-long hogwash story about how he and his master, Mawo, used to run a real estate and personnel placement agency before Amelia, the bright young lady who worked for their rival company, put them out of business by stealing all their clients. While he narrates the story, even Amelia, who asked him for help, is shocked over how easy it is for Alciel to lie just to make this bogus story believable. Nearing the end of the story, Alciel tells Rika that the tragic end of their company made Mawo work his way up at the MG Ronald's opposite, leaving him stuck at home, doing chores and making food. Having said all that, Alciel ends his story, and Rika, who totally believes every single word, feels ashamed for prying too deeply into their lives. Now that she's more enlightened on their situation, she tries to cheer Alciel up, so he doesn't feel worthless for not being able to work like Mawo. But in response to her kind words, Alciel accidentally rizzes her up with a polite thank you. After a brief silence, Rika sips her drink and tells Amelia and the others that she kind of wants to see and study Mawo in his natural habitat, so she can learn from him. At first, Amelia tries discouraging her from doing that, but since Alciel also has a reason to be at the restaurant, she soon realizes that they have no choice but to go. With this in mind, she walks over to the counter and, while Alciel and the others wait for her outside, endures a conversation with the creepy manager to get Alciel's order. Shortly after, Alciel returns to Mawo's restaurant and divulges everything he's learned from Kentucky so far. Upon hearing everything Alciel had to say, Mawo praises him for doing a good job and sends him back home with 2 Big Mac combo meals, large drinks, and fries. After that, he visits Rika, Suzuno, and Amelia at the table they're currently seated at, and sarcastically asks if they need his services. When Amelia orders a small iced coffee, Mawo tells her to get it herself. But as they're about to get into yet another argument, Rika interrupts them, trash talks Mawo's management, given the state of things. Pissed, Mawo demands to know who she is and why she's talking to him like that, but Rika ignores him and tells him that she's heard everything she needs to hear from Alciel and Amelia, and is there to see what he's like in person. Hearing this, Mawo insults Amelia and her good-for-nothing friend for being busybodies. But just then, Chiho shows up with Amelia's order, scolds Mawo for being rude to their first customer for the day, and politely serves her. Overwhelmed by her cuteness, Rika stuffs Chiho's head between her milk factories, unintentionally suffocating her, and praises her for being such an amazing person. Seconds later, she lets Chiho go and indirectly asks Mawo what he plans to do about his restaurant's problem. Initially, Mawo doesn't understand what she means, but after receiving a fresh load of insults and roasts from the lady, Mawo kickstarts his plan to get his customers back. For his first move, he tries using stickers to get more people into the restaurant. But when that doesn't work, he tries a few more low-intelligence ideas, which obviously fail. Luckily for them, as they're about to give up, their delivery driver shows up with the large Christmas tree Mawo ordered earlier and delivers it right to his doorstep. After watching him leave, Mawo has his workers decorate the tree with various things to entice people back to their restaurant. However, while they're hard at work, Amelia asks Chiho to explain what's happening, and she says that since they're celebrating a festival, Mawo came up with the idea of letting people write their wishes on strips of paper and do the Tanabata decorations themselves. Around that same time, Mawo and the workers finish decorating the tree, and within seconds, a large crowd of people rushes towards their restaurant to interact with the tree and buy something while they're at it. The next day, Kisaki approaches Mawo and tells him that he'll be going over to Fushima Park the next day. At first, Mawo starts fidgeting, as he fears Kisaki's about to ship him off to some backwater restaurant to work with. However, when Kisaki tells him that he is only going there to help the manager's team handle the large influx of customers coming to see the new attractions and fare for the day, Mawo heaves a sigh of relief and accepts the offer. Around that same time, Chiho, who eavesdropped on their conversation, volunteers to join Mawo. But unfortunately for her, Kisaki refuses to let her tag along, leaving her a bit sad. Later that night, while Alciel and Mawo stuff themselves with the rest of Suzuno's expired udon noodles, Lucifer researches the haunted house opening and the Great Asian Reptile Fair that's all happening at Fushima Park the next day and tells them the details. Also, since there will be loads of customers getting scared at the haunted house, Lucifer advises that Mawo and Alciel harvest as much demon magic as they can while they're at it, not knowing that Suzuno was eavesdropping on their conversation. On the other side of town, Chiho calls Amelia and asks her to visit Fushima Park with her. After agreeing to go with her, Amelia hangs up, only to receive another call from Suzuno, who informs her of Mawo's plan to harvest dark magic at the park the next day. Unfazed, Amelia tells Suzuno that she probably heard wrong, adding that she'll be visiting the park with Chiho, but Suzuno, thinking she's just being naive, quickly asks if they have room for one more, and Amelia assures her that they do. The next morning, Mawo arrives there early with his team, gets acquainted with the manager, and gets right down to work, eager to impress. A few hours later, the park opens, and Chiho, Suzuno, and Amelia soon meet each other. After the niceties, the trio gets to the dressing room to change into their swimsuits. However, while Amelia dresses up, Chiho rushes towards her, fully clad in her swimsuit, with her large milk jugs testing the anime's jiggle physics. When Amelia sees this, she compares them once again to her smaller, more pathetic flat chest, and gets really jealous of Chiho. Before long, Suzuno also shows up dressed in a short kimono vest and shorts, leaving Amelia and Chiho shocked. By noon, the afternoon rush begins, but while Mawo handles the influx of customers, Chiho approaches him, intentionally shooting out her milk jugs for him to see, and vaguely asks him what he thinks. Since his last two brain cells lack enough juice to read the room, Mawo assumes she's asking about the state of the place so far, so he starts yapping all sorts of nonsense about how hard it is to handle the customers there, which kills off Chiho's vibe. Just then, Amelia and Suzuno join them to order some food. While back at Mawo's apartment, poor Alciel's busy pooping the mountain of udon noodles he ate the previous night. After getting their food, the girls settle at a table outside to enjoy it. While eating, Amelia suggests that they all go check out the new haunted house after lunch, and everyone agrees. Once they're done with lunch, the trio visits the haunted house, hanging on to whatever courage and bravado they have left. Before long, Chiho gets jump-scared by a demonic figurine and goes loco. Seeing this, the other two continue exploring in silence until they find what seems to be a little girl in a cloak calling for her mother, and approach her to investigate what happened. However, the moment they get too close, the voice in the cloaked girl gets even creepier, and before they know it, The thing inside the cloak reveals itself as a very creepy demonic creature that scares the life out of them. After that jarring experience at the haunted house, the girls decide they've had enough, but since their only option for entertainment is checking out a bunch of crocs, their collective disdain for the crawlers makes them a little hesitant even to try. As if that was not enough, Suzuno tells them that she has eaten lizards before in a southern village back in Ente Isla after helping them out on a mission. But before she shares too many details, Amelia shuts her up. As time goes on, Mawo gets sent to make deliveries, while the girls have all the fun they can. At some point, Amelia bumps into a worker there and accidentally drops his keys, but she quickly apologizes and leaves. Around that same time, a pet monkey from one of Mawo's delivery locations sneaks out of its master's sight, gets to Amelia's spot, and picks up the key that fell earlier. Not long after, Amelia spots the monkey hiding in the bushes and urges him to come to her. But the monkey latches itself onto Chiho's soft milk factories instead. After making his delivery, Mawo's just about to leave, when the monkey's master suddenly calls out the monkey's name, looking for it. Upon realizing that he and the monkey share the same name, Mawo gets a little disappointed, but eventually, the master soon finds the monkey with the girls, gets it back, and thanks them for the help. Moments later, while they have fun, someone opens the crocodile cages with the keys the monkey stole, and within seconds, the crocodiles find their way into the pool. The moment someone notices them, they alert the rest, and the whole fair is soon thrown into pandemonium, causing mass panic. With the evacuation ongoing, Mawo walks right into the face of danger, aura farming and absorbing all that dark energy from the people's fear. After absorbing enough power, he slows down time and then, with Suzuno watching, uses all the power he just gained to chant an Enti-Islan incantation that sends the crocodiles away. Seeing this, Suzuno gets really confused, because the demon overlord she knows would have used all that chaos to harvest even more magic for evil, not help humans. Something is not right, and Suzuno refuses to stop until she gets to the bottom of things. Later that night, while strolling home with Chiho beside her, Suzuno notices a cloaked person standing very close to her with white wings on his back. At first, she gets confused, but less than a second later, the guy disappears, leaving her even more confused. The following day, while Mawo is eating breakfast, a deliveryman brings a package for Lucifer. But Mawo attends to it instead and demands to know what Lucifer ordered, as Alciel continues pooping bricks in the bathroom. Later that evening, Alciel's condition gets worse, so Mawo decides to make dinner. As he's about to begin cooking, they get a huge delivery from McKitty, who apparently collected a whole bunch of lovely stuff in Hawaii, and sent it back there to Mawo and his people to sell at the local association's summer festival flea market. While they sift through all the packages, Suzuno chills out in her apartment, recalling one of her memories in Ente Isla, back when she overheard two randoms yapping about the organization opposing the church, the Alliance's Order of Knights, and somehow figured out their hideout. At the time, Suzuno was still very dedicated to the church, so once she got all the information she needed, she snuck into their hideout, poisoned their wine, waited a little bit for the poison to kick in, and finished them off. After that, she met with Olba on the edge of a cliff, blamed the church for having a hand in this internal conflict, and asked why they refused to cooperate with these ordinary men they branded as heretics, since accountability is basically Olba's kryptonite. He dodges the question and urges Suzuno to focus on eliminating the next set of heretics instead. Having remembered such a tense memory, Suzuno snaps back to the present, as she finally realizes that Amelia is the real hero who saved Ente Isla, not the church. Later on, Chiho visits Mawo, but when she spots all the boxes scattered all over their room, she gets a little curious and asks what the matter is. While Mawo explains what truly happened, Alciel trips and falls over some boxes, worsening his condition. Before long, Lucifer gets an alert from the tracker he placed on Amelia, signaling that she's nearby, so he informs Mawo that she might show up soon. Seeing this, Mawo gets a little annoyed that she's coming over to pester him again. But to his surprise, when he opens his door to argue with her, he finds her in front of Suzuno's door, checking up on her. Following some back and forth, Amelia and Suzuno soon find themselves in Mawo's room, sorting through all the items Mickey sent them from Hawaii, along with the others. While they're at it, they find a bunch of food and drinks in some of the boxes, courtesy of Mickey, and spend a few hours splurging on them. Later that night, they finally manage to sort out all the items and put them up for sale in preparation for the cultural festival. However, as Mawo and the others part ways, Suzuno spots white feathers raining from the sky and immediately sneaks away from Amelia and Chiyo to discuss with the cloaked dude. After securing a discreet place to talk, the cloaked dude warns her to finish the mission she came to Earth to do before Mawo regains his powers, but Suzuno starts having second thoughts. At this, the cloaked guy reminds her about all the people she's murdered already and urges her to just add Mawo to her body count. However, rather than responding, Suzuno recalls yet another memory in Ente Isla, where she overheard the spineless cowards who call themselves the church's priests try to pin the blame of all their dirty work on her and Olba, so they can name another pawn as the head priest and claim that they saved the world. Given the severity of their heinous crimes, Suzuno knows she can't let that happen, so right after overhearing the meeting, she reflected on her past decisions and slowly started to see the priests for who they truly are. After that, she snaps back to her senses, makes her decision, and then ends the meeting. Shortly after, Suzuno returns to Amelia and Chiho, sweating and looking uneasy, and walks home together with them. On the way, Suzuno suddenly stops the other two and tells Chiho not to involve herself with Mawa anymore, claiming that the time has come for him to meet his end. Confused, Chiho asks why she's so eager to murder Mawo, and Suzuno tells her that it's because there's no telling what Mawo might do once he becomes a man of great trust and popularity. At that point, Amelia stops her right there and tells her that climbing the corporate ladder at some random backwater restaurant cannot be considered conquering the world. Even so, Suzuno refuses to let her guard down because she knows that Mawo's incredibly long lifespan gives him a chance to become whatever he wants. With this in mind, she unapologetically tells Chiho that she will do her the favor of destroying Mawo and wiping all her memories and feelings for him, but Chiho gets pissed and warns her never to try that on her. At this, Suzuno tries explaining to her that Mawo could be playing her, but Chiho starts crying as she tells Suzuno that the Mawo she knows is a nice, honest, and hardworking guy. Irritated, Suzuno reminds the hopeless romantic that this same sweet and caring Mawo used to be the king of demons who made tons of people suffer in Ente Isla. But Chiho counters her, asking if she ever met with Mawo personally before he came to their world. Although she hasn't, Suzuno tells Chiho that Mawo is still the commander of the demon army, so he's to blame for everything. Despite knowing Suzuno's right, Chiho's lovesick brain still makes her argue with Suzuno. At some point, Amelia gets fed up, so she shuts both of them up and tells Suzuno that she'll be siding with Chiho to protect world peace. Hearing this, Suzuno asks her one more time if she has any intention of murdering Mawo, and when Amelia assures her that she doesn't, she calms down and takes her leave. Moments later, Chiho finally puts her last brain cell to use and realizes that she was just yapping like a foolish brat back there without even realizing the sorrow people from Ente Isla, like Suzuno, had to go through under Mawo's tyranny. However, as Amelia is about to comfort her, the masked guy attacks her again, but Amelia quickly dodges, summons her sacred sword, and clashes swords with him. After getting pushed back, she gets up and demands that the masked guy introduce himself. With Chiho desperately trying to call Mawo, the masked man removes his disguise, exposing himself to be Seru. But right after that, he nullifies Amelia's power with his purple magic and reveals his true form to be an archangel. Following this, he slams Amelia into the wall, knocking her out, and has Suzuno put Chiho to sleep, so she doesn't try to help Amelia. Around that same time, Mawo spots Chiho's missed call and tries to call her back, when suddenly, her mom calls to ask if she's there with him. Since Chiho's clearly not with him, Mawo phones Lucifer and has him track Amelia, only for them to realize that she's flying through buildings to get to the Tokyo government office. With time running out, Mawo gets on his bike and rides there, while Olba, who's apparently hospitalized, finally regains consciousness. Later that same night, Alciel, who was eventually sent to the hospital, gets his nurse's permission to get up from his bed and strolls through the corridor to get some air. Before he goes too far, he spots a cop knocked out on the ground near Olba's room and quickly rushes in to check up on him. While he's at it, Olba suddenly appears behind him and lands a devastating sucker punch on his belly. Then he steals the nurse's card and hides out of sight. Meanwhile, Saru arrives on top of the Tokyo government office, restrains Amelia, and, while in his archangel form, tortures her with his purple laser vision magic to get her to surrender her sacred sword to him. After several minutes of torture, Amelia tries to tell him that she doesn't have enough magic to summon the sword, but unfortunately, the Nimrod doesn't believe her. Knowing this, she then tries negotiating Chiho's release. However, Saru tells her he won't be releasing Chiho because he's interested in studying her. That being said, he continues torturing Amelia, while Mawo, who is already closing in on them on his bike, crashes into the magical barrier Saru set up around the building, causing Saru to instantly notice his presence and send Suzuno to deal with him. When she gets down there, she finds Mawa punching a hole in Saru's barrier, and with a heavy heart, slams her mallet on the ground where he stands. When Mawo obviously dodges the attack, she continues attacking him for the next few seconds, until Mawo begs her for a timeout and strips down to his underwear. Confused, Suzuno covers her face to avoid catching a glimpse of his 4-inch wiener, and she demands to know why he's stripping. In response, the goofball says it's because he's more scared of his boss than her. Pissed, Suzuno continues attacking Malwo and accusing him of being a pervert. But in the heat of battle, Malwo lets her know that he'd always known who she really was and still tolerated her. Shock, Suzuno, who thought she was doing a good job undercover, pauses and asks how he knows, but surprisingly enough, Malwo says he just used his common sense. Unfortunately, since she's chosen to fight alongside that creepy angel, Malwo decides that she's just a demon like them, and calls her a shameless hoe who can't think for herself. Enraged by his insults, Suzuno attacks him blindly, but to her surprise, Malwo takes the hit like a man and loses half his aura. At this point, Suzuno realizes that she's in the wrong, so rather than continuing the fight, she warns Malwo, who wishes to save his girls, that the archangel Sero gets stronger the closer he is to the moon, so his chances of beating him are next to none. Unfazed, Malwo tells Suzuno that he is going to step up and defeat Sero to save her, Chiho, and Amelia, then leaves. Afterwards, Suzuno is left seriously confused, because she does not understand why Malwo has suddenly become the good guy, when he used to be a terrifying person. As she tries to make sense of it, Olba visits Lucifer at Malwo's apartment and promises to grant his wish if he joins forces with him one more time to defeat Malwo. Meanwhile, Saru gets fed up with torturing and interrogating Amelia, so he gets closer to her, unbuttons her shirt, and tells her that he'll be extracting the sacred sword right from her melons. Luckily for Amelia, before the creep gets his filthy hands on her holy melons, Malwo shows up in his underwear and swears on his name that he'll save his girls. Unfazed, Saru trash-talks his frail body, then he slams Malwo's body all over the roof with some low-level magic spell. When Malwo gets back up, the maniac laughs hysterically and flies towards the moon, while Olba, who apparently has Amelia's bag for some reason, drinks one of Emeralda's drugs, which gives him some of his sacred powers, and unleashes a magic spell that brings the moon closer to the earth. Within seconds, the night sky gets covered in a greenish aurora light, and Saru gets even stronger than he originally was. Seeing this, Malwo tries to stop him with his power, but Saru lifts him with his magic and suspends him midair. Around that same time, the whole city notices the sudden change in the night sky and starts to panic. Because of this, Malwo regains his magic from all those negative emotions, regaining his demonic gigachad form, aura farms for a few seconds. Then he rescues Amelia from Saru's restraints and has Suzuno watch over them. At this, Saru guilt-trips Suzuno for siding with the demon overlord. But Suzuno grows a pair and tells the foolish scumbag that she just can't turn a blind eye to his false sense of justice anymore. Realizing Suzuno's already long gone, Saru continues harvesting more power from the moon, while Lucifer, who initially tricked Olba into thinking they were partners, turns on him, recovers Amelia's bag, and knocks him out. Shortly after harvesting enough power, Malwo faces Saru for the showdown, and gives him a chance to run away while he still can. Saru refuses and attacks Malwo with a series of attacks, but Malwo dodges every single one of them, transforms into Chiho to bait him to come closer, and then lands a demonic sucker punch that knocks him out for a few seconds. Following that, he grabs Amelia to get her to safety, but for some reason, Amelia doesn't even get pissed at him, as she's too exhausted from enduring Saru's torture. As Saru recovers from the punch, Malwo approaches him, places Amelia down gently, and summons his demonic sword, which he uses to silence the lost lamb, Saru, forever, ending the battle. In the aftermath, Malwo meets up with his girls and continues bickering with Amelia as usual, while Alciel joins them, looking proud and useless as ever. The next morning, Chiho has a nightmare about Malwo suddenly kissing her forehead and returning to Ente Isla, and wakes up, scared and relieved that it was all a dream. At work, she tells Malwo about it, but he assures her that he is not leaving Earth anytime soon, because he used up all the power he had left after his fight to repair all the damage done and send Serial back to Ente Isla. As Chiyo's about to respond, Kisaki shows up, calls them up to the side, and asks Malwo why he suddenly ran off the previous night without even coming back. While Malwo cooks up an alternate story Kisaki might believe, Suzuno suddenly shows up at the restaurant, introduces herself to Kisaki, and tells her that Malwo rushed to save them from a useless creep. Hearing this, Kisaki asks for very specific details to see if they're telling the truth or not, but Suzuno delivers the perfect story, with Chiyo's support. Unfortunately, as Kisaki's about to believe and dismiss them, a random worker rushes in to tell them that they found a person in their walk-in freezer, and they rush over to check it out. There, they find a half-frozen Saru lying unconscious on the floor, and Kisaki gets on her knees to check on him and ensure he's not dead yet. Within seconds of feeling her magic touch, Saru wakes up with a blush on his cheeks and starts simping for Kisaki, giving her hot stepmom vibes. Confused, Kisaki asks Malwo if something's wrong with the idiot upstairs, but Malwo tells him that he's Sentucky's manager, which worsens things. After raving like a deluded maniac, Saru charges at Kisaki to embrace her, but she quickly dodges him and slams the tip of her heels into his faulty skull. The next morning, Amelia also has a nightmare about Malwo suddenly returning to his demonic form and threatening to conquer Greenland or something, and she wakes up breathing heavily and concerned. After work, she strolls to Malwo's house, but on the way, she reminds herself never to forgive Malwo for all the bad things he has done to her father and Auntie Isla, even if he is already turning over a new leaf. Not long after, she arrives at Malwo's place and opens the door, only to find Suzuno trying to feed Malwo some food, while Chiyo's back is turned on them. Confused, she asks for an explanation, but by then, Chiyo looks back and freaks out at Suzuno and Malwo for being sneaky, which disappoints Amelia. Before long, Alciel suddenly shows up looking serious and demands a vacation out of nowhere. The next day, Amelia calls Emerada to know if Alciel's returning to Auntie Isla. But so far, Emerada tells her that she hasn't sensed anything out of the ordinary happening yet. This confuses Amelia a little bit, especially given how Malwo had to send all of them out of the room just to discuss something private with Alciel. However, after her call with Emerada, she goes on a stroll with Chiyo and discusses Malwo and Alciel's weird actions the previous night. Unfortunately, before they get far, it starts raining, so they rush to find some shade, and Chiyo tells her about her dream. Upon hearing this, Amelia also shares the weird dream she had about Malwo becoming evil, but to avoid scaring Chiyo, she leaves out some details and promises to always protect her. The next day, Amelia continues stalking Malwo's apartment and finds a truck parked up front, with a bunch of delivery men carrying boxes of stuff into the building. However, rather than doing anything, she takes notes and quietly returns home. The next day, she hides in her work bathroom and calls Emerada to see if anything's changed in Auntie Isla, but Emerada assures her that nothing's changed. Around that same time, Malwo visits Kisaki in her office to request some temporary time off work to take care of a personal matter, and, without realizing that Chiyo is eavesdropping on them, Kisaki grants him his time off. Later that night, as he's about to get out of work, Chiyo approaches him, looking distressed, and asks if he's really going back to Auntie Isla. When Malwo tells her that he's not going anywhere, Chiyo then asks why he's being so secretive, but Malwo stays quiet and just leaves. Very early the next morning, Amelia and Chiyo follow Malwo all over town, hoping to figure out why he's been so secretive lately, only to find out that poor bro's working a part-time job at a construction site to earn a daily wage. Soon after, Malwo catches them spying on him, so he calls them to the side and, while eating his bento, tells them that he and Alciel are both working temporary jobs because they need money urgently to pay for the trackers Lucifer bought on credit to track Amelia and Chiyo down. Hearing this, Amelia frantically searches her bag for the tracker Lucifer snuck inside. When she finds it, she gets pissed, crushes it, and continues listening to Malwo's explanation. Once he's done explaining, she asks him why he didn't tell Chiyo, and Malwo says it's because he didn't want her to feel responsible for their situation. With that settled, Amelia then asks about the stuff that was delivered to their house the other day, but since Malwo never knew about any deliveries, he rushes back home and asks Lucifer for answers. Initially, Lucifer tries denying ever ordering stuff, but unfortunately for him, the evidence is literally behind him, so Malwo pushes him off, opens some of the boxes, and finds a bunch of stuff they don't need. Pissed, he turns to Lucifer for an explanation, but the stupid idiot says he was involved in a purchasing scam of over 100,000 yen. Knowing this, Malwo scolds Lucifer and has Amelia and Chiyo investigate the company behind the purchasing scam. Once they find it, Malwo calls their customer care line, explains his situation to them, and requests a return and refund. But unfortunately, the scumbag on the other end reads out a bunch of laws that prevent them from doing that. After the call, Malwo and Amelia visit the company's head office that very night, only to realize that Alciel's the scumbag he called earlier. After some small talk, they all sit at a table and explain everything to Alciel, who crashes out over being such a scoundrel to Malwo over the phone. Before long, the company's president shows up, gloating about the contract he supposedly made Lucifer sign upon delivery, and tells Malwo, who's seething in rage, that it's impossible to prove that he's been scammed now. On the way home, as Malwo and Alciel are about to give up, Amelia suddenly comes up with an idea. Since Lucifer is not of age yet, she suggests that Malwo become his guarantor and argue in court that Lucifer signed the contract without his consent. Within the next few days, Malwo does exactly this and somehow manages to force the scummy company man to refund them their money. This brings us to the end of the video. What do you think happens next between Ma Wo and Amelia? Is there a future for them together as lovers? Or will they continue fighting? You did your toxic ex? Let us know in the comments below. And if you want more anime recaps like these, watch this video instead.